Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Chainlink and looking at its valuation against USD and Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at a comprehensive analysis here with a lot of custom charts. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So the first chart we have here is just the link Bitcoin ratio. And we've showed this chart many times. We've talked about, there's these periods of expansion and contraction of the link valuation against Bitcoin, and identifying those to get an exponential fit to quote unquote non-bubble data. Now we know exponential fits will not last forever, but they can be a lot of fun to ride up as long as they do last. And despite the fact that we identified this trend a long time ago, it still it's so far has continued to play out. And if you put this exponential fit to non-bubble data, this is what you get. If you add a tolerance to it, you can see we've come back down to this level several times. And the impressive thing, right, is it's an exponential fit of link against Bitcoin, meaning that link has been going up exponentially against Bitcoin over the last 2 years. So this is quite incredible, and it's actually somewhat hard to see on this chart. Notice that we're plotting it since days since inception, but it's hard to really see what's going on down here, namely because the link Bitcoin valuation is on a linear scale. So if we switch that over to a logarithmic scale, where each major tick is 10x up, you can much easily see this amazing growth. Okay, and this is again is not, it's in satoshis, right? It's not just the ratio, because it's 10 to the 5. It's actually in satoshi, so I multiplied it. Now when you look at it, you see that we revisit this area quite frequently, right? We revisited it here, and here. And every time that the valuation of link goes up to these short-term bubbles, people get really excited, you start FOMOing in, and then it retraces, and then people can get somewhat disheartened. But at the end of the day, as long as you learn how the market works, right, and recognize that this cycle will continue to play out, it has continued to play out time and time again. We've identified it a long time ago. It still is continuing to play out. And I think that's the most important thing to recognize in terms of managing a link position, right? I mean, I think it's important to look at the link valuation against USD, but more importantly, the link valuation against Bitcoin is a lot more important. I mean, you can see that it's gone up 2 orders of magnitude since Bitcoin, or against Bitcoin, even during most of that time was during a bear market slash accumulation phase. There's a good chance we're in the beginning phase of a bull market, but for the most part, Link has been going up in value ever since inception, right? Especially against Bitcoin, and we've had bubble after bubble, but it's simply identifying the fact that, you know what, these bubbles do sometimes form, but it's just par for the course. It's business as usual. And if we also plot it on a log scale, so now we also have days since inception on a logarithmic scale, it is quite incredible how it's been following this nice exponential fit up, for the last over 1,000 days, right? You can see it's gone up over 1,000 days, maybe like 1100 to 1,200 days or so. Now, when we look at the price of Link in USD, and note that this is a logarithmic scale, this is something we've talked about many times. Okay, the price of Link tends to do very well against the US dollar when Bitcoin is above its 20-week moving average. And I've color coded it red when Bitcoin is above its 20-week moving average, and yellow when it's below. So you can see that every time that Bitcoin has gone above its 20-week moving average, the price of Link tends to go parabolic. And we've noticed this many times. We talked about it over here back in January. Bitcoin went above the 20-week. We saw Link appreciate quite nicely. And then again here, when it went above the 20-week, we anticipated this move. It took it a little while to get going. You can see it took a few weeks to really start moving. But ultimately, it still more or less went up an order of magnitude. And this is exactly what we had anticipated, because we had seen the same thing happen time and time again. Now, the interesting thing this time is that, historically speaking, after each parabolic move, Bitcoin has fallen back below the 20-week moving average, right? So we had a nice parabolic move, and then it came back down, typically, coming back down as well when Bitcoin might be losing steam, and then eventually Bitcoin goes below the 20 week, and then Link doesn't do so well for an extended period of time. You can see the price can sometimes dip down, sometimes it actually goes up, but more or less it generally just goes sideways from when Bitcoin breaks below the 20 week to then when Bitcoin breaks above it. So from here to here, from here to here, and then here to here. There's just not a whole lot going on with the price of Link as measured from when Bitcoin breaks below the 20 week to when Bitcoin breaks back above it. But when Bitcoin breaks above it, and sustains it, right, this is really great for Chainlink, and it tends to go up an order of magnitude. And we've recognized this many times in the past, and we want to take advantage of it, right? We want to take advantage of these moves. The interesting thing now is, well, what if Bitcoin does not go below the 20-week moving average? Because right now, the 20-week moving average is still less than $11,000. I think it's like 10,800, and the current price of Bitcoin is around 13,000. So even if Bitcoin were to drop by 10%, we would still be well above the 20-week moving average. So with regards to Link, we are somewhat in uncharted territories, right? We know how Link performed in a bear market. It performed amazing. We know how it performed during an accumulation phase. It was amazing. And now we're going to get an idea. It appears we might understand how it can appear, or how it can move in a cryptocurrency bull market. And one of the things I've mentioned with Chainlink many times before, I've been saying this for a long time, is it's a coin that it's too risky, in my opinion, not to hold. Because I do think Chainlink has an incredible role to play this market cycle. There's a good chance it's going to be the poster child of this market cycle, kind of like Ethereum was of the last market cycle. For instance, a $1,000 into Ethereum in November of 2015 would have resulted in $1.5 million by January of 2018. And we've said all along with Link, that there's a good chance that this project will be one of the best performers of the market cycle. And it's not just my opinion, right? It's just continuously backed up by the data to see it outperform so many other cryptocurrencies month over month, year over year. And as we showed, right, it's outperformed Bitcoin essentially 100x over the last 2.5 years. And this is quite incredible, considering that most altcoins are down 90 to 95% against Bitcoin during that same time period. So Link is in a different ball game, and as I've mentioned before, it's too risky not to hold. Now, exactly when you purchase it is up to you. $12 is kind of heated right now. A lot of people are somewhat, upset that it's only $12. It's kind of crazy to me, considering the price was like $2 earlier this year, and now we're at $12, and that's kind of a bad thing. It goes to show you how quickly sentiment can change in the cryptocurrency market, because what happens is the people that are buying up here get super depressed when the price comes back down. But the people who were buying all the way over here, or even at $2 and $3, which is when we started covering it a lot, we're still doing quite well. And of course, this does not account for the fact that we also, if you follow the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com, I was taking profits on the way up, and the last profit area I took was at 1850, and it was published on the premium list, and now it gave us the ability to invest now that it came back down. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. If you look at the Link Bitcoin valuation, depending on whether Bitcoin is above or below the 20-week moving average, you see another nice trend, right? I mean, when Bitcoin's above the 20-week, the Link Bitcoin valuation continues to go up. But again, the Link Bitcoin valuation also just tends to go up, period. And that's what's incredible is, over the macro scale, the valuation of Link against Bitcoin has continued to go up. It doesn't go up monotonically. It does retrace, but it's not always enough that a coin goes up. If you choose not to hold Bitcoin and you want to hold an altcoin, and let's say Bitcoin goes up 5x and that altcoin goes up 2x, or let's say you hold a basket of altcoins and the combined ROI of those altcoins is 2x when Bitcoin maybe goes up 5x or something. Well, it's like, what's the point of holding these altcoins? They're just going to complicate your taxes. Well, with Link, there's a really great reason to hold it, right? I mean, it not only performs well against USD, but it has historically and seems to continue to perform really well against Bitcoin. So this is the key thing to take away. Now, I showed this chart. I made this chart in early 2020, And I just this shows you an updated version. Back over here, we anticipated, when we were at this point, I said Bitcoin, it looks like it's about to break through the 20-week moving average, and it did. And I said there's a good chance we're going to go back up to the logarithmic, the upper logarithmic regression line. So the yellow line represents our fair value. The green line represents complete undervaluation, like gross undervaluation, and then the red line represents like speculative bubble territory, like it's way too heated at the current time. And it's color coded based on whether Bitcoin is above or below the 20 week. So you can see every move to the upper red regression band is accompanied by Bitcoin being above the 20-week moving average. When Bitcoin's below the 20-week moving average, it's either in the yellow band or even sometimes in the green band. Okay, it is never, it doesn't move into the red regression band when Bitcoin's below the 20-week moving average. Now, one problem with this chart, as I mentioned back then, right, there's just not a ton of data. We've looked at logarithmic regression charts for a lot of other cryptocurrencies, but with Link, it's only been around since 2017 and late 2017 at that. So there just was not a whole lot of data to come up with a fair, quote unquote, fair value price. So because of that, it's been about 10 months later, and now that we are 10 months further along and we've experienced yet another bubble, I thought it would be prudent to refit this curve so we can actually get a more updated version that accounts for the continued price appreciation. So if we update it and we refit it, given the fact that Link has gone through yet another bubble, you can see a subtle shift. So it moves from here to here. And this is nice in one sense because what it means, right, is that the fair value is increasing a little bit more quickly than it was. It would put the fair value at $10 by 2022. Now, that might seem kind of absurd. Remember that, and you might think that it's absurd because why would it take another year for the fair value to be $10? Remember, we can spend a long time being overvalued. And if we're in a bull market for the next 2 or 3 years, we could spend a bulk of that time in overvaluation territory. Now, some of you might argue that it's not overvaluation. I just stick to the numbers, and to me, that's what I would consider it to be. And maybe and of course as well, if we spend a ton of time up here, then it'll also shift the fair valuation as well. Like if we refit it each year, it will subtly shift what the fair value is, at least the fair value regression trend line. Um, but looking at it, I mean, you can see that even with this refit, we came into this upper region. We dropped out of it here. We came, into this upper region. But what it shows you is that, it's possible that by the year 2023, we could get to a several $100 chain link, just by, going up to the top of the regression band, which we've seen happen several times. We went above it here, we came into it here. You can see that by 2023, we could very much be at a couple $100, $300 per chain link. That might seem absurd to a lot of people. Reminder, you could have bought Ethereum in November of 2015 for, a couple bucks, right? It would have been really cheap, a dollar. January 2018, they were going for $1,400 a pop. It's not completely unheard of. I've said before that I think Ethereum is essentially one market cycle behind Bitcoin, and you can make the argument that Chainlink's one market cycle behind Ethereum. Remember, there are no guarantees. Everything could just go down tomorrow. But in terms of risk-adjusted returns, Chainlink provides one of the more attractive options. And in fact, as I've mentioned before, if you would calculate out your efficient frontier for a basket of cryptocurrencies, Chainlink improves your covariance matrix a lot in terms of maximizing your risk-adjusted returns because negative volatility of Bitcoin is often offset by positive volatility of Chainlink and vice versa. So it tends to be a good coin to hold in your portfolio for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, the fact that it continues to go up against USD and Bitcoin is a great reason, but there's other ones from a more quantitative finance point of view as well. So, with that said, let's continue on. So if we imagine that Bitcoin stays above the 20-week moving average for the next several years, we could easily see the valuation of Link push the envelope on this overvaluation. If Bitcoin were to fall below the 20-week moving average, then it could return back down to this fair valuation regime down here, and then maybe go up later in 2021 if Bitcoin were to say not hold the 20-week moving average in the short term. This is obviously a possibility. We did it. Bitcoin did a great job of holding it as support for 6 or 7 weeks in a row. It has now moved back above it. So there's, a lot of bullishness could return back to altcoins. We always want to be cautious because it only takes a couple days to go back down to the 20 week and start testing it again. Be that as it may, I still contend that Link is one of the coins that I think is too risky not to hold. If we look at the ROI of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink and plot those since inception, the white line is Bitcoin, the red line is Ethereum, and then the light blue line is Chainlink. You can see how well it's doing. I mean, it's giving Ethereum's ROI a run for its money, despite the fact that Chainlink spent most of its existence within a cryptocurrency bear market. That's what's insane. So if we do see a multi-year bull market, it's would not be that preposterous to see the valuation, the ROI of Chainlink continue, to continue to just go up incredibly from here. I mean, it's currently at $12. I actually had someone the other day on Reddit complain that I was spreading misinformation by suggesting it could take another year to see like an $80 Chainlink. I just think it's funny how people can let those, that emotional FOMO get the better of them, right? When we talked about, we made a video on Chainlink at $10. So and we said, I think this coin can go to $100, this market cycle, and even only maybe halfway through the market cycle. If you're not familiar with the channel, I generally think that this market cycle, that cycles are lengthening, and that the next peak of this cycle will be, say, in 2023, plus or minus 6 or 8 months or so. And so with that said, with market cycles lengthening, it essentially means that a lot of coins will have these, boom and bust cycles many times during that period. And if that happens, then I think there's a good chance that Link will continue to perform very well over the next several years. But because I had the audacity to suggest that it could take another, year, this was a month or two ago, for Chainlink to get up to like $80 or something. I got some, so some people were. This was also when I think Chainlink was closer to $20. But you can see how quickly that FOMO can take over, and you have a completely different irrational mindset rather than just looking at the data and saying, okay, this is what the data suggests. We can look at the Link Bitcoin valuation, project out what the Bitcoin price could be in a year, and then continue the Link Bitcoin valuation and see, what's a reasonable value, right? Just if the trend continues, it doesn't even need to go, change the trend, right? Just if the trend continues. So if we plot the ROI on a log scale, it just gives you just yet one more perspective of how well Chainlink has done even during a bear market, and maybe this is the beginning of a bull market. And you can see how well Ethereum did right here once we got into a bull market, right? It started really going up. It went sideways for, a couple hundred days or so, and then started moving up again. So I think it's going to be an exciting market cycle, and we'll be here every step of the way. Now, if you follow the channel, you also know that I have a risk metric for Link against USD, against Ethereum, and against Bitcoin. Here's the one against Bitcoin. So if you haven't seen this chart before, it's the valuation of Link against Bitcoin color-coded by the risk metric. And this risk metric is very useful for increasing your Link position. This is not financial advice. I just use it to increase my own, and I publish this stuff again on my website, or you can access it by signing up through my website at intothecryptoverse.com. But we have this Link Bitcoin risk metric, and it helps identify these local tops. And yet again here, we flash the extreme sell limit. It was at a risk metric of 1, which historically was the local top for the Link Bitcoin valuation. And I ended up selling. I do my sells dynamically, so I sell 1/15 at low risk, and then 2/15, 3/15, 4/15, and 5/15. So I ended up doing it based off the USD risk metric, and I sold 4/15 of my portfolio at 18.50. I sold 3/15 of it, a few dollars less than that, and so on and so forth. So it gives you the ability to take profits when there's a slower move up, and then when it continues to go parabolic, you can take more and more profits. And then by selling a majority of my position at higher than $14, because I think I sold 3/10 at $13 to $14, and then 4/15 at 1850, and then I was able to rebuy back a lot of that at $7 to $8 or so. So, and you can see here, this is the link Bitcoin valuation, and the risk metric is just plotted on the secondary y-axis. So it's the yellow curve corresponding to this. You can see that there's a general reaccumulation range of the link Bitcoin valuation and a general sell regime. And we've hit these regimes several times, here, 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 once here, up here, and then once here, and then finally, most recently at 1850, which corresponded to a link Bitcoin valuation of approximately 150,000 sats. So you can see that link is back within the Bitcoin, it's back within the accumulation range in terms of the link Bitcoin valuation. Not necessarily the link USD valuation, but in terms of the link Bitcoin valuation. And by the way, I use this risk metric to move my link sells at 1850. They actually went back into Bitcoin so I could maintain exposure to the market. And then when I convert that Bitcoin back into link, I'm getting even more because Bitcoin performed very well during that period of time, at least with respect to the rest of the market. So if we take a step back, and first, I just want to remind you that if you do like the content, you can check out my website, intothecryptoverse.com. You get access to a weekly premium report, a weekly premium video, a private Telegram alerts channel where I talk about my trades, talk about what I'm doing, give you my candid thoughts on the market. We have a private Telegram chat room and a risk dashboard, which is what I use to trade. You can pay monthly, right, with card, or if you want to pay for with crypto, you can pay for 6 or 12 months, and if you pay for 12 months, you get like a 15% discount. So it's a pretty good deal. Check it out. At the very least, subscribe to the channel. Now let's jump into the final part, and I just want to talk about the link USD valuation. So to give you an idea, on the way up, I told you I made several sells. The last one being at 1850, and if you don't believe me, right, it's all published on the premium list. There were some sells at around $14, and then there was some at 10, and then there was one at I think it was around $6 or so. Okay, so you look at this and you might say, oh well, you sold at $6. That was silly. My contention is that it's not silly because we didn't know this was going to happen, and at the same time, as I said, I sold if I'm selling Y link here. I sold 2Y here, and then 3Y up here, meaning, and 4Y up here. The idea is if I sell 1,000 link here, that I'm selling 2,000 here, 3,000 here, and 4,000 here. So when I was rebuying link down here and down here, it was actually lower than 9/10 of what I sold. And by the way, the sell here at $6, you might think, oh, that was a bad decision. Well, I moved it into Ethereum at that point, and Ethereum was 235 at the time, and then Ethereum took off, right? Okay, and it went all the way up to 475, and then I ended up taking profits there. So it's all about timing these momentum shifts in the market. And then so these three sells at 10, 14, and 1850 all went into Bitcoin. And then I rebought down here, and you might say, well, how did you know this was where to rebuy? Well, when I talk about the risk metric, and this is all verified on the premium list, I'm sure if you go ask them, they'll tell you it's on the alerts channel. It still is. I haven't touched it. The USD, the link USD risk metric, one thing that I like to see is I like to see the link Bitcoin risk metric be below 0.65, but I like to see the link USD risk metric be below 0.5, and it hit below 0.5 here at $8. So the risk metric is dynamic. It changes with time. So here the risk metric showed that 0.5 was, or that the 0.5 risk level corresponded to $8. So when it went below $8, I was accumulating. And then over here, the risk metric had changed. It's dynamic again. And the corresponding to the 0.5 risk level was actually 848. And again, this is all published on the premium list. And it allowed me and many other people to scoop up even more Chainlink at that wick. And I know in hindsight it might seem like, yeah, of course you want to buy the lows, but this is exactly what I did, and it was published to the premium list. And then now the idea, right, is if we start to move back up, we're going to have these new sell levels, right? And I mean, I don't, the actual levels are reserved for the premium list, but you can imagine whatever they are, right? If I just draw some random lines, you follow the same strategy. And my contention is this strategy allows me to accumulate a lot more Chainlink. Um, and because of that, by selling it at these local peaks, right, and then selling a lot of it back to Bitcoin when it's really overheated like this, and then buying it back when it drops back down into this into this region, you can continue to to accumulate more Chainlink every sub cycle of link against Bitcoin. This is the general idea. If you're not familiar with Bitcoin's 20-week moving average, which I talked about earlier, it tends to be the support during a bull market, as you can see. And right now we held it as support for several weeks in a row. And you can see where we are. This is our logarithmic regression curve for Bitcoin. And so I think it's going to be a multi-year market cycle. So let me know what you guys think of the content. If you guys like it, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the premium list in the description below at intothecryptoverse.com. I hope you guys enjoyed the custom charts. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.